The polka dot shadows danced across the auto ceiling as Henry Dalton leaned forward from the back seat, his voice gentle but matter-of-fact. Vashan, you remember last time we took this route? The fare was almost 20 rupees less. Vashan, perched beside him and still clutching the paper bag of bananas for tonight's dinner, gave a sheepish laugh. Uncle, your memory is better than the meter. Maybe the auto's got a new lease on life since then. The driver, unmoved, flicked a glance in the mirror. Half amused, half resigned to the negotiation woven into every neighborhood errand. Glenna Levy, squeezed between Henry and the pink-toweled front seat, piped up with her usual irreverence. If we keep haggling, the bananas will ripen before we get there. Outside the kaleidoscope of midday Kerala, the sun bright on the leaves, the thrum of scooters, the warm scent of spice, filtered into their cramped compartment, filling the lull with a familiar, everyday intimacy. For a moment, as Henry counted out the coins and Glenna nudged him with a conspiratorial grin, the auto felt less like a vehicle than a traveling kitchen table. Negotiations, jokes, and the quiet hum of a family determined to make every rupee and every small ritual stretch just a little further. As the auto rickshaw rattled along the dappled sunlit road, Henry Dalton leaned his elbow on the pink-toweled seat, letting the lull of the engine and the distant whir of scooters fill the silence between his words and the midday heat. You know, Vashan, if we ever organize that cricket match you keep promising, you'll have to ride up front and haggle for all the team's autos, he teased, glancing sidelong at Vashan, who was absent-mindedly tracing circles on the bag of bananas with his thumb. Glenna, ever vigilant from her spot just behind the driver, craned forward to catch the passing flash of a temple spire through the trees, lifting her voice with a mock solemnity. Should we offer a banana at the altar for safe passage, or for a fair meter? The driver, eyes fixed ahead but lips twitching, gave a soft grunt. An answer, perhaps, or simply acknowledgement of the ongoing chorus in his back seat. The canopy's red and black dots cast a playful pattern over Glenna's forearm as she nudged Henry. If you keep counting every rupee, the bananas will be overripe by dinner. The road unfurled lazy and green outside, the quiet hum inside the auto as familiar as the kitchen table at dusk. Each jostle and joke another ritual in the long inheritance of daily journeys and gentle one-upmanship, weaving the three of them into the broader fabric of the day. The bus ground to a gentle halt, its yellow bars sticky beneath the palms of boarding passengers, and a flurry of midday sun poured in as the doors yawned open onto the chaotic expanse of the station. Henry Dalton, his shirt clinging to his back in the heat, peered from his seat beside Vashan, who was craning his neck to count the number of red buses idling in the dust. There's our connection, Henry said, nodding at the uniformed man cutting across the lot, clipboard raised like a shield. Vashan, always quick to find the joke, grinned. He's got the stride of a cricket umpire. Should I run out and check if we're going the right way? Or trust your legendary sense of direction? Glenna, her arm looped protectively around their bag of fruit, leaned forward to tap the glass. Trust but verify, she murmured, half to herself, watching as a family with tired eyes and a stack of battered suitcases negotiated the curbside chaos. Beyond the scaffolding, the spindly tower rose like a misplaced flagpole, while palm trees nodded in the haze. Inside the bus, the air buzzed with small plans and private worries. Would the next bus have enough seats? Had they packed the good plates? Who would call home to check on Auntie's medicine? The kind of questions that filled the silences between their laughter. Henry exhaled, settling a hand on Vashan's shoulder, the gentle squeeze saying what words left unsaid. That this, too, was part of the journey. The waiting, the confirming, the quiet choreography of a family making its way. One crowded depot at a time. The afternoon sun spilled through the bus's wide windshield, painting bright rectangles across Henry Dalton's trousers, and the yellow handrail that glinted with every gentle turn. Shops and houses slipped by in a lazy parade of signboards and shaded porches, while a red and yellow government bus lumbered past in the opposite lane, its windows crowded with faces caught in their own private errands. Glenna Levy, perched by the window, traced the shape of a distant palm tree against the cloudless sky, her finger tapping a silent rhythm as she turned to Henry. "If I could bottle this light, I'd send it to your kitchen, so maybe your tomatoes would finally ripen," she teased, and Henry gave a small, distracted smile, half listening as his phone buzzed with another message from Pearl about dinner preparations. Behind them, the gentle din of riders, Oliver's muffled laugh, Mona Sloane's cheerful greeting as she squeezed down the aisle, mingled with the clang of a passing rickshaw's horn, folding into the familiar music of neighborhood life on the move. For a moment, as the bus slowed past a row of sari shops and the world outside pressed close in a blur of color and chatter, Henry caught Glenna's gaze in the reflection of the glass. A silent acknowledgement that these small sunlit journeys, shared complaints about the heat, a joke about buttermilk left undrunk, the unremarkable promise of another meal together, were the quiet glue of their odd, bustling household. Inside Mona Sloane's bright blue bus, the afternoon pressed in with a gentle warmth, a sleepy hum of wheels against the road, sunlight painting shifting patterns across Priscilla Peacham's arms as she leaned into the aisle to call out, "Mona, you must have the cheeriest dashboard in Allure." Mona, caught mid-laugh, flicked the winking emoji swinging from her rear view and replied, "If my garland ever wilts, you'll find me grumpy as the old conductor at the depot." Henry Dalton, perched behind her, with an elbow on his knee and a worn notepad peeking from his pocket, nodded approvingly at the row of schoolchildren clambering aboard at the next stop. "Mona, your bus is the only one where everyone leaves with a smile and a story," he said, watching as Glenna Levy handed a handkerchief to a drowsy auntie in the front row, quietly tucking her own shopping bag under the seat. The dashboard clutter, coins, lunchbox, a folded chit listing grocery errands, felt less like mess than evidence of lives in motion. Every item a whisper of routine, a promise to return. Oliver Masters, grinning from the back, nudged Simeon Piper, who was scribbling on a scrap of paper for Pearl Peachy's next club flyer. The two exchanged a wordless joke, their laughter joining the friendly clatter of conversation and the steady pulse of the city rolling by. For a moment, as the bus slid beneath an overpass and the world outside blurred into grey fences and bright saris, their separate errands and private worries folded into the shared rhythm of the ride. Each glance an easy word, another thread binding this makeshift family of passengers together, if only for the length of the journey. The fruit stall at the corner of Sivan Coyle Road thrummed with the quiet bustle of late afternoon. Motorbikes idling in the gutter, the air thick with the scent of ripe guavas and the faint tang of dust. Henry Dalton, his shirt darkening at the collar, hovered beside Priscilla Peacham as she held a mango up to the light, weighing its color with a practiced eye. "If you pick the prettiest one, Mona will claim you're showing off again," Henry teased, his voice steady, part routine cheer, part gentle warning. Priscilla grinned, undeterred, and called over to the stall holder in careful Tamil, asking about the red bananas clustered above the counter. Mona Sloane, waiting with a paper bag in one hand and Oliver's grocery list in the other, nudged a basket of dates closer to the edge, her thumb brushing a bruise on one fruit, as if smoothing old arguments. "Don't forget the coconuts. Oliver says the kids won't drink anything else," she reminded, prompting a soft snort from Henry. "As if they'd notice if you swapped it for milk." The stallholder's response, half instruction, half invitation to linger, wafted over the group as Priscilla debated, out loud and at length, whether guavas or apples would better survive the bus ride. Between negotiations, a playful chorus threaded through the quiet. A passing rickshaw's honk, Mona's gentle ribbing, Priscilla's mock serious, "If you boys can't decide, I'll choose everything myself." The abundance on display was mirrored in the knot of their small, ordinary dilemmas. Who would carry which bag home? Whose turn it was to pay? What flavors would coax laughter at the dinner table? Amid the pile of fruit and the rumble of the street, their voices tangled together, shaping the kind of minor, everyday dispute that, ripe with unspoken affection and the comfort of inherited routines, would be retold later as a story of how well their family knew itself, even in the midst of choosing bananas. The fruit stall on Sivankoil Road was awash with evening color, each neatly stacked row of mangoes, pomegranates, and glistening rambutan, a small, edible promise of the family dinner still hours away. Priscilla Peachum, never happier than when orchestrating a minor spectacle, hovered near the bananas with one hip against the wooden counter, her voice lilting above the clamor. "If we take those guavas, Mona, I swear I'll bring them to the next picnic myself. No one else seems to manage it." Mona Sloan, cheeks still flushed from the bus ride, grinned over her shoulder as she reached for a cluster of red bananas, her hands moving with the practiced gentleness of a woman used to ferrying both children and groceries across crowded lanes. "Priscilla, you know the kids only eat fruit if you tell them it's dessert," she replied, holding up the bananas for Oliver Masters to appraise, his opinion always sought but seldom heeded. Oliver, leaning in with hands in pockets, gave a low whistle at the bounty before them. "This stall could feed the whole block, I bet, though you'd have to referee the queue." The vendor, half listening, plucked a ripe mango from the pile and offered it on a chipped plate. His invitation, a wordless bridge between customer and caretaker. For a moment, the three stood shoulder to shoulder in the press of evening shoppers, bargaining gently not just for fruit, but for the shape of tonight's meal. Each selection and suggestion a subtle negotiation of old habits, new appetites, and the hope that, with the right fruit and the right story, the table tonight might hold more laughter than complaint. Dusk gathered like a soft shawl at the Nagercoil bus terminal, the sky's blue shadows mirrored in the concrete below, as Priscilla Peachum adjusted the strap of her overstuffed tote and scanned the shifting crowd for Glenna Levy's familiar stride. Glenna soon emerged, half laughing, her phone pressed to one ear as she attempted to describe the chaos to her nephew on the line. "Yes, Amma, 2 green buses, and yes, I remembered the bananas. Priscilla's guarding them like gold." While her free hand waved at Mona Sloan, who was wrestling a stubborn suitcase from beneath a bench. Nearby, a mother in a fuchsia sari cooed to her baby as her companion spoke quietly into her mobile, their voices blending with the evening's chorus of horns and distant bus engines. Oliver Masters intercepted Quentin Squirrel, who was recounting a tale to a curious group of schoolchildren waiting for their ride, the storyteller's arms painting wide arcs in the dimming light. For a moment, the tangle of families and wanderers, the hum of anticipation and tiredness, swelled together, a fleeting, communal hush, before Priscilla called, "Mona, over here, the bus to Kanniyakumari is nearly ready." Glenna, still smiling, pocketed her phone and squeezed Priscilla's arm, and the group drifted forward, their chatter and small burdens twined together, stepping into the gentle uncertainty of the evening, bound by routine, affection, and the promise of reunion just a bus ride away. Inside the softly lit bus, yellow light pooled in quiet puddles on the scuffed floor, as the hum of the engine blurred with murmured conversations and the gentle rattle of bangles. Glenna Levy watched the world slip by in streaks of green and cobalt, her elbow pressed against the window, catching the faint scent of jasmine from the hair of the woman in front of her. Across the aisle, Henry Dalton adjusted his glasses, peering at Priscilla Peachum as she carefully tucked a plastic bag of bananas beneath her seat, its precious cargo guarded as if it were the evening's centerpiece. "If these brews before dinner," Priscilla whispered, a mock threat in her voice, "I'll blame whoever made us stop for those last guavas." Henry grinned, the lines at his eyes softening. "You'll blame me for anything after sunset, Pris. It's tradition." The laughter that fluttered between them felt, briefly, like the familiar hum of home, the unspoken expectation that no matter where the bus carried them or how ordinary the journey seemed, it was these small, inherited routines and the quiet company of each other that marked the true shape of the day. Beyond the window, the sky deepened to indigo, and for a moment, everyone was suspended in the golden silence between destinations. The hush before the meal, the promise that, tonight at least, they would arrive together. The seashell shop glowed in the warm Kanniyakumari night, like the inside of a jewelry box. Blue walls crowded with neat rows of pale and pearled shells, while the air hummed with the faint tang of salt and the distant echo of market laughter. Henry Dalton stood just inside the doorway, running his hand over a garland of bead-strung cowries, his brow furrowed in gentle concentration. Behind him, Glenna Levy wove between the crowded displays, lifting a heavy conch to her ear and grinning at the soundless sea within. "Vashan, you'd pick the bulkiest one," she teased, nudging their team captain as he weighed the merits of a striped spiral against a pale, crescent-shaped shell. Vashan shrugged, cheerful as ever. "They'll all remind us of tonight, but only this one will survive a cricket ball to the head," making Henry laugh and Glenna roll her eyes affectionately. At the counter, Pearl Peachy conferred with the shopkeeper in soft Tamil, her hands tracing the elegant lines of a shell necklace as she called over her shoulder. "Everyone gets to choose, no bargaining, one keepsake, for the family WhatsApp photo." Quentin Squirrel, ever the collector of stories, lingered by a display of tiny, intricate shells, letting his fingers drift across their ridged backs as he murmured, "Imagine the tide that brought these here, each one a small voyage." For a lingering moment, the group folded into the hush of the shop, Henry selecting a sturdy white conch for the mantle, Glenna clutching a delicate pink cockle, Vashan jokingly donning a shell necklace, and Pearl pressing a smooth spiral into Quentin's palm, each gesture gentle and full of unspoken care. Later, when they would gather at the dinner table, their shells lined up beside plates and tumblers, the quiet pride in their choices would carry the day's small reconciliations, binding them with the inherited routines and new memories that, in this southernmost corner of the country, felt as abundant as the sea.